Just in the last 12 hours alone, I've spoken to leaders of our city, Mayor Faulkner multiple times, along with other leaders of cities, elected officials at the state and federal level, heads of agencies, the heads of major universities, business leaders, philanthropy leaders, and that's just in the last 12 hours alone. And in every instance when we have reached out to them and asked for help, they've said yes. And I think that San Diegans should take comfort that your jurisdictions and your institutions across multiple ranges are all working together in a collaborative spirit. And I think this is having a positive impact on our ability to move things forward. In addition to these individual calls and contacts around things we're doing, our sector calls continue. This is an important part of our ability to communicate information. This morning we did one with our military and veterans community. We also had one with our local legislators, our local elected officials and leaders. Separate from that, Mayor Faulkner, myself, along with other mayors throughout the region, did a call with the Secretary of Health from the state of Baja. That call was coordinated by our local consul general because the reality is coronavirus doesn't detect a border and just decide to stop because there's a border there. And so we're working on areas of how we can better align and coordinate our efforts cross-border and cross-jurisdiction, and we're encouraged by that same collaborative spirit. Today, the Metropolitan Transit System, of which I serve as the chair, had a board meeting. Our transit system is an essential service. It is a vital service. For the members of our community who are transit dependent, that is how they get to the grocery store. That is how they get to a doctor's appointment. That is how they get to the things that they need. At MTS, we have taken extraordinary steps by increasing hygiene, by increasing cleaning. We have taken a series of steps to ensure social distancing on the buses and trolleys. That effort has been made easier by a pretty significant decline in ridership, as you might expect. But our transit system is an essential service and a vital part of what we're doing, and our transit system will continue to provide service throughout San Diego. We also stood with leaders in our immigrant community. There's been some unfortunate instances of blatant racism that we have seen, and the reality is in San Diego, we're better than that. We know that we are one community. We know that coronavirus does not discriminate based on your immigration status, your ethnicity, your gender, and we are not going to as well. And we wanted to remind the immigrant community that under California state law, you will not be denied any health care service, nor will your immigration status be impacted by seeking out care and help that you need. And I think that that's an important message that we need to continue to convey to everyone in San Diego. Next point, 72 hours ago, we stood up the COVID-19 Community Response Fund in partnership with the San Diego Foundation and the United Way. We were thrilled to have an initial $1 million contribution from SDG&E, an initial $300,000 contribution from the San Diego Foundation. 72 hours later, that fund has surpassed $4 million in contributions received with additional pledges. They range from individuals who have given $10 to some incredibly generous individuals. And we want to encourage the public to utilize that fund in two ways. One, continue to consider donating. If you go to sdfoundation.org/COVID, you can make a tax-deductible donation. Those funds will go towards ensuring food security, rental assistance, income replacement for folks that have been hit hardest economically by the challenges we face. But on that same website, you can apply for assistance. If you are a San Diegan out there and you are in need of help and assistance, while we all wait for state and federal programs to come, we know that people who live paycheck to paycheck and are missing a paycheck could be struggling, and that assistance is there and it is ready to be deployed and to be helpful. Next update, the 13 county family resource centers in our Housing and Community Development Services office closed this morning to in-person service. But it is important to note that access to these services and access to the ability to sign up for these services remains fully intact. These are critical food and housing assistance, medical coverage, other vital support programs to help low-income families and individuals. And the County of San Diego stands ready and willing to ensure that your access to those services remains there. Our Access Customer Service Center and Housing and Community Development call line is available to those who already participate and will continue to operate at its normal hours, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. The number where you can reach that is 888-724-7240. You can also go to the County of San Diego's website and get information about how you might be able to access those services. We have language interpreter services enabled to assist us in 150 different languages within seconds. 99% of the non-English calls are Spanish, and we have bilingual staff on hand and ready to assist in Spanish. No one will ask your immigration status or check with you on those issues, and we will make sure that you are able to get there. You might be interested to know that since we started talking about the importance of social distancing, 9,125 people have used that line. That is a significant increase, 28% increase in usage. On Wednesday, we received 1,133 online applications for assistance. That is a 100% increase versus normal usage. And so even prior to closing the physical offices, folks were using the phone line and the website more often. For folks who don't have a computer or access, we do have staff stationed outside of each of these locations. In the event someone just shows up, there will be someone there who can get you plugged into assistance and help, because it is important that our family resource centers continue to provide those vital help and assistance to those who are in need. And then in closing, you know, we're all getting contacted by a lot of friends and family, or in our case, constituents who are reaching out to us for information about how do we navigate through what is a really unprecedented event, something in my lifetime that has certainly never occurred. And there is a lot of concern and there is a lot of anxiety. And I think it's really important that we all realize that even though we are keeping physical distance from one another, we're not keeping emotional distance from one another. And that the ability to connect with one another is the bond that holds us together as a society, and we have to continue to do that, sometimes in more creative ways, sometimes in more unique ways. In my home, we have a senior citizen in his 70s, and we're heeding the advice of our public health doctors to say that he needs to be in isolation and not around within 6 feet of the younger ones. So at night, the little boys go to the hallway, and they say, "Hey, Papa, we love you. Because we love you, we're not going to come down and give you the big hug and kiss we usually do, because we want to keep you safe." But they still communicate, and they still talk. And so as we go through this, finding ways where we're all figuring out how to maintain that emotional connection with one another, because we'll get through this, and this will pass. I know a lot of parents. We have school-age kids. They're all home. I think every parent has a much greater appreciation for our teachers now that we're dealing with our kids every single day. But there's a lot of anxiety about, I have to replicate and repeat what they get in the classroom. I got to teach them a new language. I got to teach them a new skill. And that's all great if you can figure it out. But at the end of the day, if your kids are loved and your kids know, hey, it's going to be okay, we can sort through and figure out all of those online learning opportunities and ways we're going to connect them and how we're going to help them. But there isn't this overwhelming sense that it's going to be okay. So make sure your kids are comfortable. Make sure that they know what's going on. Be honest with them about what's happening and tell them the steps that they can take. Our kids love going around and cleaning the cabinets and figuring out things they can do to make sure that they're helping protect Papa. And that gives them something to do, something that I never thought that they would ever do in their lives in terms of being a part of cleaning. We also have to make sure that we're maintaining our own health, our own mental health, our own physical health, our own spiritual health. It is okay to go outside and go for a walk. It is okay to take your kids from your family unit and go outside and play and throw a ball. We want to make sure we're keeping social distancing from other folks outside the family unit, but you can still do that in outdoor ways, right? We have a crisis line if folks are in emotional distress. There is a tremendous financial stress that a lot of folks are feeling. And we've got millions of dollars in a fund to help you. We have hopefully billions of dollars of federal aid dollars coming down, but we're not going to let a San Diegan go hungry. Supervisor Gaspar and I are bringing forward a board letter to ensure that there are no evictions or foreclosures during the period of the COVID crisis. That would apply to the unincorporated areas. 2 cities are moving forward with similar efforts. We're not going to let folks get kicked out of their homes, but we know it is stressful, we know it is difficult, and we want folks to make sure that they're minding and tending to their emotional health and their physical health. And then the final point is the flow of information. Your cousin on Facebook might know a lot about a lot of things, but he probably doesn't know that much about COVID-19. So you should not listen to random people on Facebook as your source of information. We have an incredible website at the County of San Diego that has a wealth of information. If you want to read and learn about COVID-19, you can spend hours there, reading from experts, from science, for things that we know today. But the speculation and the what might happen and what could happen, the reality is the experts standing in front of you today, we don't know what the situation will look like tomorrow. And so if we don't know what the situation is going to look like tomorrow, no one online knows what the situation is going to look like tomorrow. But we know that tomorrow is going to come and we're going to deal with it and we're going to confront it and we'll update you and then we'll all move forward accordingly. But I think it's really important in these difficult times that we make sure that we're all moving forward. We have the guidance, we have the things that we know that we need to do. And if we do those things, we're going to be okay. Thank you.